This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Now, it's Tuesday, which means I'm going to sit and blether away for 10 minutes or thereabouts on the topic of 5 of my favourite things in a particular category. And today, we're looking at Brian Setzer performances. I've been a massive fan of Brian right from pretty much the first time I heard him back in the early 80s when the Stray Cats emerged. And what sparked the idea for this video was I've just finished, recently just finished doing a solo analysis of a Brian Setzer solo that's going to be coming up on the channel pretty soon. So watch out for that. And I thought, yeah, I should do a video about my favourite Brian Setzer performances. So that's what we're doing today, starting with
Rumble in Brighton.
Yeah, now this track originally appeared on the very first Stray Cats album, just entitled Stray Cats, and I gotta be honest with you, it wasn't one of my favourite tracks on the album. It was, if I'd been listening to the album these days, if I'd discovered the album these days, it may even have been one that I'd skipped past, but back in those days you had to walk over to the record player, lift the lid, pick the needle up, move it on, and, so quite often I would, just kind of let it flow as part of the album, but it was never one of my favourite tunes off that album. But then in 1996, with his big band, the Brian Setzer Orchestra, he redid this track on the Guitar Slinger album, and for me this is just the definitive version of this song. If you're not familiar with the song, it sort of it documents the infamous clashes at Brighton on Brighton seafront between the mods and the rockers, and it really does kind of basically tell the story of those big tribal fights that used to happen between different fans of different music. I know it sounds weird, doesn't it? But it used to happen. There is an air of menace about this song. There really is. It's got that kind of that rumbling. I guess Rumbling Brighton. It's got that rumbling kind of air of just menacing, jeopardy running through it, and some superb rockabilly Gretsch shredding licks from Mr. Setzer on this, and just melded with that whole big band sound, it just absolutely, it works like a charm. It makes the song, frankly, what it should have been or what it deserved to be, and didn't get the chance first time round. It's just a raw, powerful, wonderful slice of, dark rockabilly kind of tone, and that's why I love it, and that's why it's on this list. Next,
Rock This Town.
Yeah, now this is the song that really made me go and, kind of listen to the Stray Cats properly. I'd heard their first UK single, Runaway Boys, and thought, yeah, it was okay, didn't. It sort of, in marks out of 10, it was about a 5 or a 6, basically. It piqued my interest, but not sufficiently to go out and buy the album. But when I heard the second single, Rock This Town, from that album, dear me, all of that changed. It just ticked all of my boxes. I mean, you've got this fantastic 50s rock and roll kind of thing with, a real raw edge, and again, Brian Setzer's trademark, kind of guitar licks, basically, that sort of rock and roll, slightly country kind of feel that he plays with a few odd little jazzy touches in there that you don't notice until you kind of go looking for them. It's the song, essentially, which gave me a brand new guitar idol when I was in the early stages of cutting my teeth as a guitarist, and for that it will always have a special place in my heart, and that is why it's on this list. Next,
59.
Okay, after Brian had, kind of spent a few years with doing the whole big band Brian Setzer Orchestra thing, in 2001 he returned to a more pure rockabilly sound with the album Ignition, and what an album that is. I could have easily picked all 5 songs in this list from that album. But this one, 59, I just if I have to pick one track off this album, it would be this one. 59 is the year when Brian Setzer made his earthly debut, and he's kind of singing about that as well. But he's talking about his favourite guitar coming from 1959, his girlfriend born in 1959, his favourite car, came out in 1959, and the whole shooting match is just full of all of that romanticised 1950s Americana imagery. And for somebody like me who's a sucker for all that kind of, I grew up watching films like Grease and TV shows like Happy Days, so all of that kind of thing has a special place in my happy childhood memories. And it's writ on a large scale in this song, and it's just good toe-tapping, feel-good rockabilly that, it's one of those tracks that you listen to it and you realise by the end of the song that you've got this big cheesy grin on your face. And, any song that can do that certainly deserves a place on this list. Next.
Stray Cat Strut.
Yeah, now this was the follow-up to Rock This Town back in the early days of the Stray Cats. And it took me a little while to get into it because I think I was expecting, Rock This Town Mark II, another up-tempo, toe-tapping, rockabilly kind of thing that had preceded it. And it was very, very far from that. But, you know what you're like when you're kind of an adolescent, you feel a certain sort of loyalty to a particular band, don't you, that you're really into. So you'll kind of buy the record and then listen to it, and eventually, hopefully, it grows on you. And this certainly did. I'd never heard these kind of exotic, spicy kind of sounds before. It was essentially my introduction to jazz, really, because you've got all of the kind of jazz harmony going on there. You've got augmented chords, you've got whole tone licks, you've got diminished licks, you've got flattened fifths all over the place. And, it just, to me, it didn't sound dissonant or, or discordant. It just sounded, kind of really complex and spicy and eerie and spooky, I think, is probably a word I would have used at the time to describe the way that some of the licks and the whole atmosphere of the song delivers. So yeah, any song that is that served as my introduction to the jazzier side of the spectrum is really an important one in the lexicon for me. So that's why this one's on the list. Fantastic tune, and I absolutely love it. Next.
Drink the Bottle Down.
Indeed, the B-side of Stray Cat Strut. This is, again, we're talking about introduction to a particular genre of music. This, I wouldn't say it's the only track that did this, but this is one of the most important tracks that introduced me to the blues. If you've never heard this song or any of the ones I'm talking about, actually, they're all linked in the description below. But this is a live slow blues that was recorded, I believe, at Newcastle City Hall. And it's not Brian singing. I think it's the bass player, Lee Rocker, who's singing lead vocals on this track. And it's just an epic slow blues jam. Listen to this track. I implore you, go and listen to it and tell yourself that Brian Setzer was 21 or 22 years old and he was playing blues guitar like this. It is ferocious. It is raw. It is powerful. He's shredding these blues licks. And, I'd never heard anything quite like it before, I don't think. I think I'd already started getting into blues via a little bit of Clapton and the Layla kind of album that I think I'd got around about the same time as this. I might have the timeline a bit wrong, but, I already had some knowledge of the blues, but I'd never heard it played quite this powerfully and, with this much guts behind it than you hear on this song. Fantastic slow blues song. If you're into blues and you've never heard this tune, then again, just go and listen to it. It's just something to behold. So there you go. Those are my top 5 Brian Setzer performances. This was a tricky one to pick. There are 1 or 2 honourable mentions that I'm going to go through now. Pretty much anything at all off the Wolfgang's Big Night Out album, maybe Honeyman or 1812 Overdrive, or a couple of tracks from the second Stray Cats album, Gunna Ball, a track like Wild Saxophone, I think, is off that album, but certainly You Don't Believe Me is on that album. Great stuff. And I had to narrow it down to 5. So the top 5 are Rumble in Brighton, Rock This Town, 59, Stray Cat Strut, and Drink the Bottle Down. Those would be the ones that I would, if I have to choose 5, it would be those. Let me know what your top 5 Brian Setzer performances are, if you have any. Let me know in the comments with maybe a line or two about each one, about how come it deserves a place on your list. And hopefully you'll check out mine and maybe discover 1 or 2 new Brian Setzer moments that you weren't aware of up to this point. And that is pretty much it for today, folks. I do hope you've enjoyed the video and found it reasonably entertaining. And if you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so, and why not give me a like while you're at it. Don't forget, Friday the live stream, 5 p.m. UK time every Friday. We sit and drink beer and talk about music and guitars. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.